Water. Earth. Fire. Air. Long ago, the four nations lived together in harmony. Then, everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked. Only the Avatar, master of all four elements, could stop them. But when the world needed him most, he vanished. 100 years passed and my brother and I discovered the new Avatar, an airbender named Aang. And although his airbending skills are great, he has a lot to learn before he's ready to save anyone. But I believe Aang can save the world.
Soot.
What?
I've seen it before. Right before my village was attacked. It's soot mixed with snow.
But why?
It's the Fire Nation. They've closed in on the North Pole. And from the looks of this stuff, I'd say there's a lot of them.
The gang may have arrived at the North Pole, but so has the Fire Nation, and they attack at dawn. Hey there, welcome back to the Avatar Vlogs. This is episode 19, The Siege of the North, part 1. Now, just for a little bit of context, when I was growing up watching this show, this and part 2 were my favorite episodes of the entire franchise, and I loved them more than Sozin's Comet. I loved them more than Day of Black Sun. I absolutely loved them. And rewatching this show now, I find there's certain episodes that I both like and dislike for entirely different reasons than even the last time I saw it. And while I could never really say that objectively these particular episodes were the best, I always really had a soft spot for them, and they were always kind of a highlight whenever I would watch the show again. And now, I'm not entirely sure if they are still my favorite, but honestly, these were two really great episodes. And nope, I'm not talking about them all at once. I am talking about them separately because I want to. Why not? So anyway, Team Avatar has been spending some time at the North Pole. Aang and Katara have been mastering their waterbending skills. And Sokka has been putting the moves on Yue. And I'll give this episode and the following one a lot of credit. Even though these two really don't spend that much time together, the few moments they have, both through carefully chosen dialogue and moments, you do really buy them as a couple. I know this is a weird comparison, but it's kind of like Renaissance era Disney films where even though the characters only have realistically a romance that maybe is like 3 days long, you do really find yourself not only buying that they're in love, but really rooting for them as a couple. I think the best example in that regard was Jasmine and Aladdin, where even though they knew each other a couple days, you really did believe they were in love. And it's kind of the same here. It's very simple, but it's very effective, and it does lead to a lot of very good, both happy and heartbreaking moments. There's one moment I'll just give away right now where, a little bit of context first. Okay, so it turns out Yue is actually engaged to somebody else, and it's kind of part of the political things. She has to marry someone so they can basically be chief, which is a little weird because you think being the direct descendant of the current chief, she would just become queen or chiefess, female chief. I don't know what the female equivalent of for chief is. I apologize. And that her husband would be kind of like what Prince Philip was to Queen Elizabeth II, where he's just the spouse to the actual monarch. Not really important, but anyway, so she's engaged to someone else, and she's having real conflict about this because she has feelings for Sokka. A little bit Hallmarky when you kind of get down to it, how she has this person she's supposed to be with, but she has feelings for someone else. In anything else, this would be seen as really kind of selfish, but it works here well enough. But anyway, there's a scene where Sokka volunteers to be part of a dangerous mission, and basically saying yes to this mission would involve him marching off to his death. Yue kind of realizes that. She sees him accept the position. They mark his forehead, and then she just turns away from him, and a tear rolls down her eye. Now, that's kind of cliched when you get down to it, but that was a really good moment. And honestly, these episodes are just, this episode and the next episode are just full of great moments. I would argue that these episodes have not only the best animation of the series thus far, but they definitely have the tightest writing. They have the best action scenes. They have the best flow. Sort of, we'll get to that in a second. But anyway, let's finish the story. So, while our characters are kind of trying to make merry, Zhao has officially fully closed in on the North Pole, and he has brought damn near every ship in the Navy. And okay, not all of them, but he's brought a ton. There are hundreds of ships involved in this attack. And the North Pole, more or less, is really on the defense. They have very little to combat this except for the full moon, because it turns out that waterbenders derive a lot of their strength from the moon. This in the next episode is kind of one of the first times we really learn a good bit of information about the philosophy and spirituality of waterbending and other bending in general. So it turns out that waterbending derives from the moon and the ocean spirits. They kind of, because the moon pushes and pulls on the ocean, the moon is the source of strength and the ocean is the source of life, and that the moon is considered the original waterbender. And there's a lot of other times with other bending disciplines where you will learn kind of how the philosophy came from and where the original bender was. And it's a bit of a spoiler, but I'll just say it right now. For airbenders, it was the sky bison who taught the air nomads how to bend air. For earthbenders, it's a creature called a badger mole. And for firebenders, it was kind of the sun, but the first actual benders of fire were dragons. You saw dragons back in episode 7. Don't pretend they don't exist in this world. But anyway, so we get a nice little bit of philosophy in this episode about waterbending, which, I'm all for. I can talk. I love the philosophies in this show and how it's kind of like Kung Fu Panda, where they take ideas that probably are a little more complex and they simplify it a bit, but it is still there. The ideas are still there and they're still present. And honestly, this episode is just really great as it focuses on all these different characters and how they're trying to combat this threat, which is basically the biggest threat any of them have come to at this point. And even in the show as a whole, like it's already been made very clear that the Fire Nation is not only capable, but willing to commit mass genocide as the air nomads are extinct. And if they were successful with this water tribe attack, it's very likely that the water tribes would be completely extinct as well. So there's a lot of stuff on the line. Now, I will say, for as much as I love this episode, there's two things that I really don't think work that great about it. One is because you do kind of need to emphasize the fact that Yue is supposed to be engaged to someone else, even though you really don't. You could honestly have it where Yue didn't want to be with Sokka because she felt it was not appropriate, or she had a duty to her tribe, so therefore she couldn't be with him because she sees him more as fun. Just, you could have done something without having a fiance in there, because we meet the fiance in this episode and he's completely useless. He's just there basically to be a bully character. He's there to be a foil. Now, thankfully, he's not in this episode for very long. I think he gets maybe a grand total of 2.5 minutes of screen time. And I'm just going to spoil it. In the very next episode, he gets a single line and he's gone. Gone from the episode, gone from the show, never to be mentioned, to the point where I question why he was written there in the first place. I don't know. Maybe someone said we had to have that cliche. So I don't like the fact that there's a bully character basically just for Sokka to butt heads with. And also, this is a bit minor, the editing is a little sloppy in this episode. So now, to be fair, they're juggling a lot of plot points. You have Aang trying to fight the Fire Nation and ask the spirits for help. You have Katara and Yue assisting Aang. You have Sokka trying to protect Yue. You have Zhao and Iroh planning the Armada attack, and you have Zuko, who is now infiltrating the Northern Water Tribe to capture the Avatar. And all of this is done basically through quick flare to white edits. And it's kind of done very jumpily. And I know these episodes kind of probably had a bit of shoestring budget back then. But yeah, the editing upon watching it now is not that hot. It does kind of take a very flowing episode, and it kind of breaks it up and makes the pacing sometimes a little distracting. But with that said, it does lead to the best parts of this episode are actually with Zuko when he's infiltrating the tribe, because he has to do it entirely on his own. He has to do it almost exclusively through swimming, like he's a friggin' super soldier or something. He swims through frigid waters for minutes on end. He very cleverly follows seal turtles. There's seal turtles in this episode. It's a big seal with a turtle shell. Again, love the animals of this world. And he follows them to where they're to an air pocket, and then he continues to follow that stream of water, knowing it's going to go to the city. That stuff was great. Like, honestly, I think Tom Cruise probably took a lot of inspiration from these scenes when doing the last 2 Mission Impossible movies, because this stuff was just great. It's good stuff. There's good tension in this episode. A lot of ominous moments, as you can probably tell by some of the clips I use. I love the ominous moments in this show, and they're done very well. You get a real sense of the stakes and the threat at hand. I will say the only thing, too, there's one character who Aang fights in one of his solo fights, which, by the way, Aang takes on an entire ship by himself. That was pretty cool. And all I was thinking was, wow, not since Hideyoshi from Defenders of the Realm or that sidekick Indiana Jones had at the start of Temple of Doom have I seen a character so fully realized since their introduction. I don't know, just kind of felt like bringing that up, even though it has really nothing to do with anything. But yeah, on the whole, this was just a really great episode. It's a really great first part to the finale of this season. And even though I don't know if I can quite hold up to being my ultimate favorite like I used to, this was a really good episode. And with that said, I'll see you fully in the finale. Till next time, onwards and upwards, my friends.